All right, so my name is Ailín Tobin. It's the Irish version of Alan. I get called a few things, but yeah, Alan or Ailín. So who am I? I am dad to little Maeveen and husband to Vanessa. We live on the west coast of Ireland. Best thing about technology and Webflow is that it allows me to live there. And that's my prime objective, is I want to live where I live. I am a very cold surfer. So I live in this cold, winter times it's cold, live in a surf town called the Hinch. And that's what brought me to the area. And the idea of wanting to stay there is what got me into technology and is what brought me to Webflow. So yeah, that brings me on to I'm a Webflow dev and I'm on the west coast of Ireland. There's actually two of us there in our little town, which is quite strange. So I love coming to these meetups. I try and come to a few of them a year just because we're all living and working in bedrooms and it's good to meet people and exchange war stories.
And the good-looking man in the middle is in our audience, Mohammed.
Yeah, this is actually a photo from FlowFest last year. So yeah. So yeah, as Chris was saying, my background is kind of full stack, and I was like a PHP dev, and then moved into Shopify. And when I was telling this story to Chris earlier that I had a small project to do, and something to do with a mega menu or something like that. And I found, I don't know if it was a Pixel Geek or a Rand Segal video, and I made this mega menu. I exported the code, I put it into my project, gave it to my senior. They didn't know I wrote the code. And I was like, wow, this thing is powerful. And then I was still working with Shopify and moved more towards Webflow. And kind of over the years, I just became an exclusive Webflow developer who worked with designers. And I just loved how amazing and easy it was to create HTML and CSS templates using Webflow. Currently, so I've done the freelancing thing, and I created a small company called Tobin Web Design. It was quite successful. For me, success is living where I want to live, and it provided me that opportunity. Worked with amazing designers in Ireland, particularly, they're mainly all in Ireland. Had clients in all over Europe, UK, New York. And this one particular client I had came to me with a Webflow website that had a member stack portal. And I took them on, we started working together, started a couple hours, went to 1 day a week, to 2 days a week, to 3 days a week, 4 days a week, to finally offer me a job where we created a product where Webflow is the front end. It is the HTML and CSS template. We're using Cloudflare workers as the back end, and it allows us to reverse proxy, which is essentially put a security layer in front of Webflow and allows us to create this product that we have that is an employee well-being product, essentially. So in essence, the power of Webflow is quite unlimited when you've got the right tools. So I work a lot with JavaScript. I work a lot with Webflow. And that's the one thing, the kind of Webflow, it is moving in that direction, but it doesn't have a JavaScript layer on top of it. So over the last number of years, I've been using quite a lot of JavaScript, and I have all these snippets in different places, in different websites. And about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I started to put it all together in one place and started to trigger these pieces of code using HTML attributes. We're all aware of HTML attributes if we're in the Webflow world, because we've got FinSuite attributes. We've got MemberStack that runs on attributes. Outside runs on attributes. And attributes is such a really secure way of using JavaScript in Webflow. So I came up with this idea literally from creating a footer change year that updates every year. I was like, why can't this be made easier in Webflow? Because for me, I had this little script, and sometimes I'd forget to bring it over, or I'd use a new starter kit, and it wasn't there. So that's how this idea came. So I've got a video demo. I'll talk through it, and yeah, we'll see what VisualDX is. So you can see here, this is in my Webflow environment. I've just got a footer year. There's nothing on it. You copy the code, you put it into the footer. You copy the script from VisualDX and put it into the footer, and you save it. You open up Webflow, and you find the correct page. And you can see here, like there's just X's there. There's nothing there. There's nothing bound to the X's. So you go to the footer year page, and you just copy this attribute. You go over, and you make a span. When I was making this, I made the code, so I made a mistake. But even still, when I make a mistake, it's quite quick. So I have to clean it up, make the span, and I'm going to drop in the attribute. And on publish, we're going to just see how the year just updates super quickly. It's a super simple function, but every website uses it, and every website needs it. This works in preview mode, so we can test it in preview mode, but I'm just testing it in publish. And you can quickly see there's this year's date. I didn't hang on, I just went on to the next demo. So the one thing that we've all struggled with is CMS sliders. We all want them, and it's one thing that I've struggled with for years. So you can see I built it out. I'm not a designer, so I copied the Apple design. And in the last bit there, you could see that it was static. There was nothing working when you click the buttons. So the way that I've styled this, and the way all you need to do to style this is you create your collection. The collection list itself is either in Flex or Grid. It doesn't matter. It can use gap. It can use padding. It can use margins. It doesn't matter. It all gets, the code counts all of it. So you just need to initialize VisualDX once. That's why it's a little bit different to other libraries that are out there. The power of VisualDX is always with your website. So if you need to enhance a website, you simply find the attributes and you update. So you copy the slider attribute, you pop it into the parent of the slider, and then you go and find the slide attribute. Copy that, and you put it into the slide element. Now this can be used with components. We're using a CMS collection at the moment, or it can be static. Now, we're all hearing about GSAP and the power of GSAP, but one of the underused resources in Webflow is actually its CSS transitions. And that's what I'm piggybacking on here, is the power of Webflow CSS transitions. So you can see I'm going to go down to the slide item, which has the attribute. I demoed this already, so there's already a transition in there. So I'm going to change it to 100 milliseconds. Each slide click is going to take 1 second. And that's, so we've got an easing, we've got a time for the change, and we're ready to go. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to initialize the buttons, the previous button made, added in, same thing, settings, attribute, pop in one attribute. And we're going to next initialize the next attribute, next button. Find the button, into settings, and drop it in the name. And then I'm kind of here figuring out what else do I want to do. There is options there for adding in CSS classes that make things more fun, but we're just going with the simple test at the moment, simple demo. You can see when I go in here, we haven't refreshed the page. Nothing's working. And we're going to refresh the page. And our slider is working. So there are options out there. Splide, Swiper.js, really powerful tools. This is built specifically with the Webflow dev in mind, or designer in mind. Now, I'm going to just show you how easy it is to make an infinite loop slider. I'm just going to go down. On the side here, you see these TOCs. That's also built using VisualDX. It's in the documentation. The whole website, every bit of JavaScript is triggered using its own library. So we copy the attribute. So this time it's a name, it's not a value. So we're going to find the element that has the slider initializer attribute, drop in infinite into the value, publish, and then on refresh, I'm kind of waiting for Webflow to publish. And you can see now we've got an infinite looping slider. There's also an attribute there that makes it automate, so it runs automatically, so you can turn it into a carousel. Yeah, so this is a really popular feature. I know from people love it. So this next one this is actually one of my favorite ones. If people know nth-child, it's a thing in CSS where you can target a child based on its position under its parent. And it's not really something you can do in Webflow, even though it's this super powerful CSS tool. And you can see this example here where we've got a nice 5 grid. When you get down to tablet, we've got this guy hanging out down there by himself, and you don't want that. So yeah, you go into the nth-child option, and you copy this attribute, and you put it into the parent. So you can see here that we're going to just put it into the list, drop it into the name. And now how this one works is I tried to make everything just a name to make it easy, but sometimes we're using a value to target something. And in this case, the child that we're targeting is the value. So we've got 5 elements. So we're going to put a 5 in the value. So the attribute will have a 5, and then we can start figuring out what we want to do. So in this particular example, we're going to hide the 5th child when it is in tablet mode. So we've copied a custom a combo class, and it's the prefix of the combo class. And we're going to go to the item. It already has a class, and we're going to drop in a class. And we're going to, in this instance, we're giving it a -5, and that is now binding the attribute to the class. And you can see here that I've given it a display of none, remove the class, and we're going to publish. And on refresh, when we make the site smaller, our nth-child disappears. So there's loads of power you can do with that. That's the simplest one, but it's a really fun feature. Now, everyone's jumping on the GSAP bandwagon, so am I. So the last week or two, I built a couple of very just common uses of GSAP. One thing in Webflow that always annoyed me was IX2 couldn't do stagger animations. GSAP can, so can VDX. You literally copy the attribute, put it into the parent, and you'll see here that it's not as easy as I just suggested. I made one mistake. So we're going to publish. It's not going to work because, quite simply, I didn't add GSAP to the project. So we're doing it in reverse. We turn on GSAP. I'm going to look back into the docs, and it's telling me to use the stagger in, or the scroll trigger. You turn on scroll trigger, press publish, and you've now got a GSAP stagger in animation on your Webflow website. There's 8 or 9 different values that you can add into it. Flip, bounce, stagger. And by the time I tried to add it in, I stopped recording, so you're not going to see this lovely demo, unfortunately. But it's super fun. It was super fun to build. It's really easy to use. So thanks very much.
Amazing, Alan. So we've got some time for some questions. I've got a microphone here for the audience. I really need a stick of some sort, but yeah, any questions? Yeah, we've got Dan back here. Hang on.
Cheers, Alan. Really good to see like the process and how you kind of built it all, and the range of tools that you've got in there is insane. We definitely need to give it a go. Have you got any idea which ones are like the most used of your
Slider and Nest?
Slider and Nest.
So I know Webflow have increased their limits, but VisualDX has an unlimited Nest. Webflow, to me, is a HTML template, and VisualDX uses an AJAX request, which pulls a piece of HTML and puts it into the right place. I haven't broken a Webflow website yet. Well, we did break one. I figured out some caching, and it's all working now. But yeah, there's unlimited nesting available with VDX. So they're the 2 most popular. In the last couple of weeks, the GSAP stuff has been pretty cool. And footer year. every month, top of the copies, which is mad.
That's really cool. Oh, Jack, sorry. Yeah.
Have Webflow spoken to you about what you're doing at all?
No. Yeah, a few. I talked to one or two people who work in there, but nothing major yet.
Because I don't know if this is true, but apparently FinSuite got in a bit of hot water because they were doing stuff like on top of Webflow, that there was a lot of requested features that Webflow weren't making as fast as FinSuite were making them. And then they were like, hey, you're kind of like pissing on our bonfire.
It'd be great if I was building something too fast for Webflow.
Well,
to keep
as
up
in,
on.
you're just,
And
it's just interesting because like there's obviously, there's stuff that's been requested, which has been touched upon, you know, for years, right? And then it's like, maybe this isn't as hard as people might perceive it to be. And then an individual creator like yourself might make something and be like, oh, I've made this thing. And then Webflow are like, wait, what? Like, that's...
Hopefully, yeah, come on,
Yeah,
have a chat.
I just wonder.
No, not yet.
And I guess like the app marketplace has been an opportunity for like third parties to create and extend WordPress, Webflow. Need to edit that out. and I guess that's showing Webflow trying to embrace the broader community. But I guess that's a question from me, being an OG Webflower. You've seen a lot of changes. What can you tell us about the early days of Webflow for what was 1.0 Webflow like as a tool,
Well,
and where is it now by comparison?
I wasn't like original like 2014, but it's kind of going through the same cycle again. Like IX2, when that came out, just blew the mind of like visual creators who wanted things to move. And now we're moving into the GSAP world, which is doing the exact same thing. And I'm kind of seeing the same peak and trough. But fundamentally, Webflow is HTML and CSS. There's JavaScript in there. IX2 triggers off JavaScript. The nav bars, the sliders, the drop downs, they're all using jQuery. So it's still the same in my opinion. There's just more layers on top of it, and which is kind of cool because now we can have more nerds that are experts in different areas. So yeah, that's
Nice. More questions, anyone? Yeah, here we go. We've got our live camera master, Abdul, with a question.
Yeah, so the presentation was amazing.
Thanks.
So I just have a question regarding how you create attributes to, okay, from my understanding, you get attributes from your, how should I put this? Like, it's cool that you can get attributes with scripts in Webflow, and just by going live, it works. So like, how does that work? Like, I get that what's made is cool, but how did you do the backend stuff? Like, I have no idea or clue. Is it Webflow? Okay.
Yeah, so it's
Magic.
yeah, that's it. I just like spin a wand, do these things. So usually developers with JavaScript are using IDs or classes. But in my opinion, like a class is really dangerous in Webflow because there's so many designers that want to make things do different things, and they might change the class, so that'll break your code. IDs, in my opinion, from like working with Webflow for a long time, they're not stable, especially in forms and stuff, so they can do funny things. But like the script is quite large, and there's a lot of stuff in there, and the biggest risk with that is that you've got an unnecessary load on your website. But the way I think about it is that I use the attributes to initialize this piece of code that's in the library. And that kind of lowers the weight of the code is still there, but it's just not running. So the first attribute is the thing that initializes the code, and then the rest of the attributes trigger the functionality.
Okay. So just walk with me for a second. Is it that so for example, let's say I'm working on a Webflow project, I take the scripts using the code sector, bottom, I don't know, before body stuff, and so the idea is that you made a library of scripts like that, and then the attribute just calls each of those sections
Yeah, there would be multiple kind of, there's a footer script, there's a slider script,
Oh,
and the attribute calls that one and does the magic.
that's pretty smart.
Thank you.
And those scripts are being served by JS Deliver,
Yeah.
is that right?
Yeah.
And do you have to pay them money?
JS Deliver, no?
No, it's a free open
Yeah,
source
And
platform.
that's a free resource. Most of the ideas come from devs. Like there's a few people here that have helped me so much with like ideas. So like I see something, I build it, someone tries it out, and they come back to me with feedback, and I upgrade it. So like, yeah, find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, WhatsApp. I'm in that WhatsApp group, and if you've used it, if it's broken something, or if it's not doing what you want, let me know.
Good stuff. Any more? Oh, here we go. Alyssa? There you go.
Hello. I mean, I've used VisualDX and it's amazing. So any of you that haven't tried it yet, you should absolutely try it.
Thank you.
Also, anything that doesn't quite do what you want, you just message Ailín, and within half an hour, he just spins it up for you and solves all of your problems. I know that you have a full-time job, but you might get a few more requests. So thank you so much for that. I have maybe, I don't know, I'll put you on the spot with a question. So VisualDX uses one script for all of your problems, to solve all of your problems. And we know that other libraries separate those scripts. Like FinSuite, you have different scripts for different solutions. First question is, I don't know, how can you load everything with one script? Like, how can you make it so small? Or do you see it where in the future, where you add more and more solutions, you will separate into different scripts?
Yeah, well, like, so FinSuite have actually now compiled everything in V2, and they're using, I think, modals to trigger the different attributes. So what I was saying earlier on is that each of the scripts they're in different files, essentially. And the first attribute calls that. And if that attribute isn't seen by your page, it just doesn't run the code. So that's how I've made it quite lightweight. Like the code itself is heavy, but like that slider code it's very fast. Yeah.
Thank you. And if you do run VisualDX and you open your inspector, and when it loads, it does actually say that VDX
It
is magic.
Excellent. Anyone else? No, yeah, we've got more. So just a time check here. We need to finish in 20 minutes. We might have another shot at Anthony's and break for a refill. And if we don't get it working again, I've got an idea how we might get it working. And then we call it a day. But we'll take one more question. Yeah? Okay. Oliver?
Not really a question, but I just want to say thanks because I think you've saved me a hell of a lot of time.
Cool.
So yeah, awesome.
Excellent.
London